Late night TV is shrinking as it dives more and more into hyper-partisan politics. CBS has already removed one of its 2 late night shows. Fallon is down to only 4 nights a week. And now we're getting word that ratings are failing so badly that Canadian viewership is actually exceeding Americans tuning in because they're tuning out. That's right, folks. You heard me correctly. Our Canadian neighbors in the Great North are watching Colbert and Kimmel scream Orange Man bad, while Americans snore.
When they go low, we go high, he can go
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel that continues to bring you the news you might not hear anywhere else, giving the reporters tomorrow's headlines, and we're happy to do so. Welcome back, folks. We ask that you click the like button, and we're going to dive straight in today, coming to you from somewhere sunny USA, and it is indeed sunny. Hope you're enjoying spring wherever you are. Darn you pollen, though. Stay off the car. This is by Christopher Hamilton. It's out of The Wrap, and it says, U.S. late night shows are trending in Canada amid political tensions charts. Now, why would these shows, why would the late night shows with Kimmel, Colbert, Fallon, SNL, etc., why would they be trending in Canada? Well, it turns out it's because the U.S. and Canada have a strained relationship at the moment. And I'm not here to give you any kind of political thoughts on this other than to say that the tariffs seem to be one of the significant reasons behind that. Now, President Trump, and again, I won't take a position. I promise you this. I won't take a position on it. I'm just going to present it to you. President Trump is trying to be sort of a new Teddy Roosevelt, right? Roosevelt went after the monopolies back in the early 1900s. And it was not necessarily the case that he was going to win, but he did. He prevailed over the monopolies. And, well, we see him as a great president now. President Trump is attempting to do the same thing, except this time he's attempting to get better trade deals with the world because for generations, many other countries, most other countries have really hosed the United States when it comes to trade practices. I'm President Trump could maintain the status quo, but he's decided he's going to go for a historic either victory or loss. And I'm not here to tell you which way this is going to go. I'm simply here to say that it's caused conflict. And Canadians, who you can't blame Canadians, you can't say, well, Canadians should be pro-U.S. at the same time that the U.S. is attempting to get them to, well, from the American point of view, perhaps pay their fair share. You can't be mad at Canadians for saying, well, no, we don't want to do that. We've enjoyed our deals. But Canadians, and not all Canadians, but some Canadians have been rather flummoxed with the U.S. government and to the point that they've been booing the national anthem at Canadian hockey games and all that sort of thing. So the funny thing about this is that the late night TV shows, they're so far to the left at this point that Canadians are tuning into them because the shows are so far left that they're practically anti-American at this point. Here's what it says. The ongoing tensions between the United States and Canada have been a fruitful source of material for late night comedy. But it isn't just Americans making sense of the situation through late night comedy. And I would say it's not Americans at all, basically. That's what this story is about. It's interestingly framed there, but Canadians are enjoying the jokes because they're aimed at America. U.S. variety shows, Saturday Night Live, The Daily Show, Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, and more, accounted for 3 of the 10 most in-demand shows in Canada in March. Tellingly, all of these have ranked higher among shows in Canada than in their U.S. home market. And you can see here, what are Canadians watching? Saturday Night Live, The Daily Show. They're watching The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. But by the way, Colbert and Kimmel aren't far down on that list either. Now, I want to tell you, though, the situation in America is completely different. Let me go to this real quick for you. If we go to the ratings in America, what do we get? This is from Late Nighter, and you can see that if we go down here, well, first of all, Gutfeld has 3.5 million viewers. Jimmy Kimmel only has about 1.6 million views. Stephen Colbert had a fantastic return, and by that I mean in terms of ratings, after 5 days of reruns. So he comes back and gets almost 2 million. But doesn't break 2 million. And then the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Kimmel up there with 1.6. Jimmy Fallon had just barely over 1 million. Now, how does that compare to other shows? How bad is this, folks? Well, take a look. If we go to Nielsen and we look at the top-rated shows on broadcast TV, what do we see? Well, the top rated show is Tracker, and Tracker had 8.5 million viewers. Now remember that I said Colbert came back and had a dandy of a day or evening because he had been on reruns for 5 days, so his audience tuned in when he came back live. Well, semi-live, right? None of them are really live. Tracker got 8.5 million. That means that the top broadcast show, and by the way, we're not including sports here, the top broadcast show got more than 4 times the viewership of Colbert. So let the late night shows do well in Canada. They're doing terrible in America, where they're filmed and where the money is. Now, let me tell you this. Go back over here for a minute. Well, let's stay with it. I'll tell you this while we're here. Canadians, when it comes to advertising money, if you're doing swell in Canada but not well in America, you're not having a good time. And the reason for that, and I don't mean to offend our Canadian friends and viewers, by the way, and we have Canadians who work with us and are on our team. We're not trying to be mean. But if you were to take the bottom 2 performing states economically in the United States, the 2 lowest per capita in terms of who's, salaries. Let's take salaries. That'll be a good measurement. The 2 states that provide, on average, the least salary per person in the state, the least income, West Virginia and Mississippi. And it's debatable which one is the lowest because West Virginia gets a little bit of a bump from people out of the D.C. area living in the very fringe northeast part of West Virginia. Okay? Now, Mississippi has no such benefit. So it's debatable which one has the lowest income. And by the way, we're also not trying to denigrate or be mean to our Mississippian viewers or our West Virginians out there. But for the sake of simplicity, let's take Mississippi. The average income for a Canadian household is less than the average income in Mississippi. And again, not being mean to either side of this, just laying the facts out there. It's tough in Canada economically. Whether or not you're pro-Trudeau or not, whether you're for the opposition or not, whatever you think of Canadian politics, it's a tough time in Canada economically. Okay. Well, that has something to do with the ratings then, because if your show if it's performing exceedingly well in Canada but not in America, that's no good because the economy in Canada is such that the market and the advertising doesn't bring in much value if you're doing well in Canada. It's nothing in comparison to America because, again, the Canadian economy is worse off than the worst states in America, okay? And by the way, West Virginia and Mississippi, they're not at the bottom by a little. And again, I hate to say that, because there are parts of those states that we love, and we love everybody in those states and want them to do well. To continue the comparison, 60 Minutes pulled in almost 7 million viewers. FBI pulled in 6.4 million. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, 6.2 million. Matlock, 5.8 million. You get the idea. If we go to cable network TV, which is essentially now Fox News, the cable TV channels out there that are not Fox News, they're just not doing anything. I'm sorry. The cable companies should basically just call themselves Fox News at this point. All 10 of the top-rated cable TV shows are Fox News every day. There you go. Okay, so if we go to syndicated programs, though, the lowest rated, because this gets us the lowest rated show, the lowest rated show from syndicated programs is Jeopardy Weekend at 2.2 million. And what that means is, if we go back now to our original story over here, actually want to go here to Late Nighter. If we go back here, you can see that the highest performing late night show, non-Gutfeld, is The Late Show with Stephen Colbert at 1.9 million. And that means, folks, that there's not a single chart in which the late night shows can appear. They're less than every single show, and that's obvious because they'd be on here. But even Colbert Having a Good Night is nowhere close to appearing on any of the Nielsen charts. These shows have become irrelevant. Well, what caused it? If we just search for late night Trump, just late night Trump, take a look at this. It says Trump jets off to watch golf after triggering global market depression, shutdown, whatever. You got Seth Meyers. Trump calls groceries old-fashioned. You got Colbert again. Trump risks historic economic damage. Late night with Seth Meyers. Trump's insane tariff plan. Tank stock market. New York Times has the recap on Colbert. Late night debriefs after a terrifying day at the White House. Stephen Colbert likens Trump's tariffs to an economic infection. Stephen Colbert on Trump tariffs. America is finally free from the tyranny of being able to buy things. Seth Meyers, Donald Trump has entered his Gaddafi era. And it goes on and on and on. And by the way, you can go do this, folks. Go search for yourself. Late night Trump. If late night was at all fair or even-handed, then this could not occur, right? Because what would occur is that you would see a 50-50 split, or let's say it was a bad day for Trump. It was 40-60, 30-70, whatever. It's 100%. That's all they do. That's all they do. And because of that, late night TV has destroyed its ratings in America where it matters, and they've lifted it up in places that are, at this time, feeling more hostile to America. So this is how you get in this kind of situation. It says particular events on these shows have helped to draw Canadian audiences to them in the past few months. On The Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon quipped about the U.S. annexing Canada and jokingly suggested that Canada could take back Canadian actor Ryan Gosling. The current Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, was a guest on The Daily Show on January 13th. And in a reminder of how real political events sometimes intersect with late-night comedy, he launched his campaign to be leader of the Liberal Party of Canada 3 days after his appearance. While it didn't make the top 10 by demand, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert saw its highest demand in Canada following its episode that made sense, of President Trump's address to Congress, which mentioned Canada several times. It reached its peak rank in Canada on March 6th, when it ranked as the number 6 most in-demand show overall. Remember when I told you that these were not far behind? And it goes on to talk about how Saturday Night Live has suddenly become more popular in Canada. Well, the problem for these companies is if you become more popular in Canada, you're making the same amount as if you were only popular in West Virginia and Mississippi. No offense intended. And remember that the issue here is that Trump is making a play, and I can't tell you which way it's going to go. I can't do that. And I'm not going to share with you what my political views are on it. But Trump is making a play that there will be short-term pain and huge long-term gains with the tariffs. Now, it's a risk, and I can't tell you which way it will go, but I can tell you that I think he's attempting to do what Teddy Roosevelt did. Whether or not it works out, that has yet to be seen. The problem for these companies is if he wins this way, if in 3, 4, 5 months, things get turned around in a Ronald Reagan post-Jimmy Carter kind of way, then they're going to look even worse and they're going to become even more irrelevant. Take a look at it. I want to show you what it is. I want to show you how things work over here on the late night. This is Kimmel with Adam Schiff. And as you all know, Adam Schiff is a controversial figure. And I can say that, even though he's on the left, I can say that Mitch McConnell is rather controversial on the right. Right? We can say that. Some of you out there may disagree, but that's okay. I think that both Adam Schiff and McConnell, for different reasons, are two figures that are kind of shadowy on the left and the right, whatever you might think of it. And they have very funny names, right? The Turtle and Shifty Schiff is one name. He has many. Let's play it, though. Here he is with Kimmel just this past month, and you see what you think about how things are run with late night and whether or not this would be what's driving Americans away, causing them to make their bedtimes earlier than when these guys come on, while Canadians are staying up at night.
He's calling you a water. Well, first of all, your neck, I'm looking at it. And do people look at it now?
Let me tell you, a watermelon head on a pencil neck is a pretty tough balancing act.
Your neck size seems very normal to me, you know?
I'm getting the impression he doesn't like me very much.
He doesn't.
But, you know, I'm a good Democrat. So my view, of course, is when they go low, we go high, he can go
So let's review what happened there and listen to Kimmel laugh. Hang on, let me play it again. Listen to Kimmel laugh at that joke.
Go high, he can go
Take a look on the right. There's Jimmy Kimmel. He's a Disney guy. Disney pays his money, right? But they're all this way. Fallon less so, but he dabbles in it. I don't think he really believes in it. Kimmel, though, man, he's full loony. And so is Colbert. The idea that you have a guest come on and tell the president of the United States in the first 100 days to go blank themselves, you know, and that the host sits there and laughs. Well, think about that, folks. To get an idea, to get a grasp of whether or not this is inside the normal range of how we've acted as Americans, go back 4 years. Do you think that, let's say Rand Paul, for example, okay? Let's say Rand Paul, who is a Republican senator out of Kentucky, who, well, he's at odds with Trump a little bit lately, but I don't know. So anyway, we don't want to get there. But Rand Paul He goes on, let's say Kimmel 4 years ago, and tells Biden to go blank himself. Do you think Kimmel would have doubled over in laughter? And do you think that that would have been accepted? Do you think that society at large would have accepted it? Do you think that the news media would have accepted it? Or do you think that that would have been rejected majorly? I think it would be rejected tremendously. I think it would be rejected utterly and totally. And it would have been called below and beneath the standards of what a network should be and what should be allowed on TV. It would have been deemed uncouth, improper, un-American. And yet that's what's happening on a nightly, daily basis on these late night shows, day after day after day. And so when countries come into conflict with America, whether it be Canada or whether it be China or whether it be whatever, right? And oftentimes this is going to be something that is of a temporary nature, right? Everybody goes back to being friends with the US and Canada as soon as this whole tariff thing gets worked out. And it may work out in favor of Americans. It may work out in favor of Canadians, but there's the art of the deal is happening, however you might feel about it. And so the US and Canada will go back to being friends. But in the meantime, those who feel animosity towards America are tuning in to the anti-American stuff that is coming out on late night, and Americans have had enough. I'll go back to it one more time, folks. I'll go back to it one more time. You can't have ratings this bad and make a profit. There's just no way. These shows are being subsidized, in my opinion. They're being subsidized by something. They're going out there and they are absolutely ripping one side of the political aisle, almost never the other. Their ratings are terrible. They're going up in countries that don't matter in terms of the economics of what will come back to them, and yet they do what they do every single day. And frankly, the US of A seems to have said to these vitriolic hosts, enough. And that's why late night is in the dumps and why it may not last another 5 years. We'll keep our ears and eyes to it, folks, to the grindstone every single day, but we bring it your way to say they're surging right now, just not somewhere that'll bring them money. Where are they surging? In Canada, along with Kraft macaroni cheese, except it too seems to be tariffed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a joke, the last one. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the show. And we're going to ride our Zamboni off into the sunset. No, not yet, for there are more videos on the way. 2 more left today and 4 every single day. Make sure to tune in 8:30 a.m., 12:30 p.m., 4:30 p.m., and 8:30 p.m. every single day. See how they're spread out by 4 hours? Yeah, we do that on purpose. On this one, click like, share, subscribe. And folks, drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Click it and stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. And until the next time, we have the joy, the pleasure, the honor of spending time with you. Get out there, enjoy the springtime if it's in your place at this time. Make the world a better place. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Listen up, my brothers and sisters. You've been listening to Phils and those with an agenda to destroy your brain cells for far too long. It's time to change your way of doing things. Hold up. TPP is the place to be. Covering the news so honestly. It's a team that's cool and tried and true. Ahead of the culture curve, they're trying to keep you. Jonas and Pro, they run the show, and they dragged in the bearded culture casino. You got Valiant and Lord and Fourth of Light. Wonderful people, yeah, they're alright. They got weird bringing in people like Floral, but made no mistake with Lorena Creole. Amelia and John, stuttering guitarist. Martin and Tawny and someone called CMS. Fat Steven makes a bunch of other graphics. Did I mention a partnership with Bending in the comics? Fat Sky is a guy and Doc Matt does the web stuff. There's probably some people I missed. I hope they're not telling you the news. That should be fun. With accurate info that's not been spun. You can figure it out as you will see. The TPP is the place to be.
Yeah, Wilton. That was actually pretty good, or White. But I think you might have forgotten Vash.
Well, he lost all his friends. But it was implied.